Is Elon Musk right about tanks being death traps? So I got to bed last night and I woke up to about 100 messages on Twitter and Telegram and email asking for my opinion about something Elon Musk said about tanks. And the first thing I thought of was opinions don't matter, facts matters, science matters. So let's try to break this down in an unemotional way because I know both Elon Musk and armored warfare can be emotional subjects. So here's what Elon said.
Hi, it's me, Elon. Tanks are a death trap now. With neither side having a superiority, you're left with infantry and artillery, essentially World War One. Yeah.
This statement is kind of unique in the sense that it has some truth to it, but it also doesn't matter. So let me break this down for you. A few months back, I released a video called Are Tanks Obsolete? And you can see it up here, I think, if you want to watch it, but it'll also be available in the description and the pinned comments below. Now, my basic conclusion was that no, tanks aren't obsolete, but they are on their way out, probably within the next 20, 40 years or so. We'll always have a need for armored vehicles, but I envision them turning into IFVs or infantry fighting vehicles, but I'll get to that later. Now, when I say the word tanks, I'm referring to modern main battle tanks. The quote from Elon doesn't say much about what he's referring to, although some people refer to armored personnel carriers and infantry fighting vehicles as tanks because they're just misinformed. So let's define a tank. The Ryan McBeth definition of a tank is this: if you can take a main gun round to the face, then you are a tank. Now, what this really means is that if your tank is designed to absorb hits from the main gun of a peer or near peer adversary, then you are a tank. If you turn into a ball of molten aluminum, then you were not a tank. And even if you are designed to take main gun rounds to the face, that doesn't mean you can do it forever. Now I want to talk about the survivability onion and how it relates to warfare. The survivability onion is basically a layered approach to defense. The first element or the first layer of the survivability onion is don't be there. If you're not where your adversary is looking for you, that's your best possible chance of survival. The next layer is if you are there, don't be detected. And then if you are detected, don't be acquired or identified. And if you are identified, don't be hit. And if you are hit, don't be penetrated. And if you are penetrated, don't be killed. The issue of tanks today is that miniaturization of electronics has eliminated the first 4 layers of the survivability onion. But this isn't emotion. This is science. Look, from the 1940s until the 1960s, the only weapons available for infantrymen were essentially short-range weapons like the bazooka or the Panzerfaust. And by close range, we're talking 100 meters. You had to get within 100 meters of a freaking tank in order to destroy it. This is size of a football field range. The only sensor you had to detect this tank was your eyeball. You didn't have night vision, you didn't have thermals. It must have been terrifying back then as an infantryman to go face to face with a tank. And when you're that scared and your weapon is unguided and you're shaking, it's really easy to miss. Then by the 1970s, wire and radio guided and even laser guided missiles came along. Stuff like the TOW, the Dragon, and the Sagger. And that was much more of a threat because you could detect the tank at longer range and you had more sensors, stuff like thermals and night visions that allowed you to detect that tank in the dark. Russian Sagger missiles fired by Egypt gave Israel one heck of a bloody nose during the Yom Kippur War in 1973 because they peeled away the first 3 or 4 layers of that onion. It's a lot less risky to shoot, and it's a lot easier to detect and acquire you with all these new sensors, especially when you can do it from further away. Now, with computerization and miniaturization, the big thing today is that modern anti-tank weapons like the Javelin and the NLAW have much higher hit rates. And it's not just the addition of advanced detection and acquisition sensors, it's that the computers are assisting in course correction in the case of the NLAW, or guiding itself to the target in the case of the Javelin. And that's the key difference between today and even just 30, 40 years ago. Troops today don't have to be close. They don't have to stay in one place and guide the missile to its target. They can shoot and get the heck out of there. It makes it a lot safer for the infantryman and a lot more dangerous for the tank. So now this goes away and you're dealing with just 2 more onion layers. And now a lot of these weapons are top attack, which hit where the armor is the weakest, so that all of that armor doesn't mean a darn thing when the computer can automatically guide the weapon to the weakest point. Now, one thing I've heard people say is, well, why don't they just increase the armor? First of all, you have to be very careful when saying the words, well, why don't they just? Like, why don't they just send F-16s to Ukraine? Why don't they just carpet bomb Kyiv? Why don't they just float a bomb down the Kerch Strait and blow up the Crimea Bridge? So here's my why don't they just for the armor. All tanks are trade-off. You need armament, you need protection, and you need mobility. Increase one, lose more. You can't cheat physics, you can't cheat chemistry. Metals weigh what they weigh. You want more armor? You need a more powerful engine. Add a more powerful engine, have to refuel more often. Reduce the armament to save on weight, you reduce lethality. And ultimately, you can still be destroyed because you're going face to face with a microchip. The microchip can think faster than you, and it doesn't care if it lives or dies. But you do care if you live or die, so the microchip has an advantage from the jump. Now, there are things like active protection systems which can destroy missiles in flight. Future APS systems may even be able to destroy main gun rounds or at least reduce their effectiveness. But this is just going to increase the cost of the vehicle, and that's kind of what it comes down to. Look, a Javelin missile costs about $100,000. Every time you see someone firing a Javelin, I want you to imagine dropping a Ferrari out of the building. But tanks cost anywhere between $2 and $8 million a pop, so the math just doesn't work out in the tank's favor. So Elon Musk is right. Tanks are death traps, both for the crew and economically. But in case you haven't figured it out, war is wasteful. It's probably the most wasteful thing we do as a species. So yeah, tanks are death traps. That doesn't mean they aren't needed. They have a role to play. And yeah, some are going to get destroyed playing that role. Combat is dangerous. If you think it's dangerous being in a tank, try being infantry exposed in the open to enemy artillery fire. And if you think that's bad, try being a helicopter pilot. Helicopters get destroyed all the time. Heck, sometimes they just fall out of the sky when they haven't been hit at all. So yeah, Elon is right about tanks being death traps, but war is dangerous. And the only real difference between now and World War II is that the layers of the survivability onion have been peeled back and are far fewer than they were back when the tank was invented. Hey, if you like to kill tanks, head on over to Bunker Branding and get my Hell on a Wire tow missile t-shirt. It all goes to support the channel and bring you great content like this. And if you want a copy of my survivability onion, you can find that on my website. Oh, one more thing. If you're interested in learning why helicopters are really vulnerable in modern combat, yet we keep using them, take a look at Perun's video that he did about the subject. That will be in the pinned comments and the description below. It's a really good video. You should check it out. And thank you so much for watching.
Yo, what up? It's me, MCI TV. You like Ryan McBeth? We got crazy Ryan McBeth shirts, yo. Hi, Mars, Patriot, Toe Itas. That's like a son to me. We even have Spall Street bets and whatever the heck this is. So come on down to Bunker Branding or I'll get Team Yankee on you.